Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Listen, we're going to get right after it today on another solo episode. And today we're going to talk about consistency. Consistency to what that leads to success, relationships, all the above, and what I found that works for me. But before we do that, look, like we ask every episode, man, if you guys get value out of this episode or know somebody that would, please share this with them. Additionally, if you are on any kind of platform it is, I'd really ask you to go to the YouTube channel and like and subscribe to the channel. You know what I mean? We're trying to get our subscribers up so that we can get this out to as many people that want to listen to us and also need the good vibes, the good energy, the good mindset stuff. And if you're feeling so kind and generous, a review puts us even further through the algorithm, the comments, all the good stuff. That stuff that is much appreciated in advance and well needed. So yeah, let's talk about it, man. So, fun fact, I'm going to tell you guys straight up, a lot of these podcasts that are the solo episodes, and my camera guy can tell you, I just freestyle off the top of my head with it. You know what I mean? Probably you could tell because how horrible some of them have been. But it's relatable content that I know what I want to talk about and that I want to push out to let you guys know what's on the inside workings of my brain, okay? Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some, multi-millionaire, like I have this huge social media following, that I have some course to sell you or anything like that. I am more like just the regular people. I'm in the trenches, just like you guys, right? I'm not this guy that's like sitting on some sort of hill trying to talk down to you guys as to what you should do and how you should do it and live your life like that. And just, kind of profiting off that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, okay? I'm just saying I'm on ground zero. I'm in the trenches. Now, but I have also found tremendous success in the ventures that I've been in. Whether, if you go back to the past, I went 18 years in, dealing high volumes of marijuana, right? And again, I'm not bragging about that. I'm not advocating for that. But that was something that, to go that long and get to the levels that I've gotten to and do the things that I've done without any blemishes on my record, major. I mean, one would say that was a successful run. And again, I'm not advocating for that lifestyle or proud of, what I've done. It's just a fact. It is what it is, right? And fun fact about that, you get it seems like every fucking body wants to talk about their drug dealing days, right? Like everybody's a drug dealer. Look, buddy, you wasn't a drug dealer, okay? You were a fucking little peddler who was getting high, all right? You might have pushed a couple peas in the park or something like that, but when it comes to the levels that I was at, there was a whole different kind of game that we were playing. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I'm kind of, going off a tangent right now, but I just get so tired of hearing these fake ass motherfuckers out here talk about this fake ass shit and try to boost themselves up, you know what I mean, to be, this guy like everybody thinks it's cool that you sold drugs. Okay, guy, we get it. You know what I mean? You were a drug dealer. Right. Great job, right? And I'm not trying to one up anybody. I'm just saying I hear all of these influencers, all of these people, all these little groups that I be, walking through and navigating through, try to like fucking flex on who sold the most drugs in life. And I'm like, buddy, you're a drug addict. There's a big difference between the addicts and the dealers. And on top of that, you know what I mean? Get out of here, son. It's just, we're not even on the same conversation. And again, I know that sounds bashful and boastful and brash, but I got to keep it real. You know what I mean? Like I get so tired of all these war stories, man. Like, go tell Disney you're fucking DuckTales, homie. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm having a little bit of coffee in me today, a little bit of, little angry. I got some stuff going on. But one would say that was successful up until obviously the time that I got caught. I wouldn't count that as a successful success story in my memoirs, but I would say that, I had a run. And then when, you look at some of the careers that I've chosen and the jobs that I've had, I've made the most out of them and learned what I needed to learn out of them to get me to the gym career and, the recruiting in the real estate space and, the fighting career and also the speaking and things like that. Like I've had these things that have ultimately led me to be able to do some cool stuff. You know what I mean? Be able to really provide for my family, put my kids through private school, to travel the world. I've been all over the place, Hawaii, London. I've been to Costa Rica. I've been to Colombia. I've been, all over the States, and just live a life that I want to live on my terms. Doesn't mean I don't work hard. Doesn't mean I'm raking in the bucks. Doesn't mean I don't have a long way to go. I just think success is subjective, right? So your definition of success is going to be what you believe in. And that's what I truly believe in. I truly believe that the trajectory and the way that I'm going is successful. And also another thing, I was talking to my wife about this. In my mind, you can't tell me it's not going to work. You can't convince me that my grand master plan to where I want to go isn't going to work. Like I have such a high belief in my own press clippings at times. You know what I mean? Like one of the things that makes me an effective coach, leader, business owner, all that is I believe every word that comes out of my mouth. Like I believe in myself so much that like there's just no other way, right? Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not flexible and I can't learn things and can't be taught things and can't learn lessons. It just means that my self-belief is just so high that I trust in myself, I trust in God, and I believe it's going to work out. And it tends to do. I mean, I can't say that it doesn't. And where does that come from? Where does that confidence in myself? Where does that belief in myself? Where do I get the audacity and where do I get the brashness to be able to sit here and say, yo, my plan is the plan. We're going to figure this out and lead other people and talk to this shit to the other people, right? It comes from the promises I make myself. Excuse me. It comes from the promises that I keep to myself. It comes from the consistency and doing the work and showing up every single day, no matter if I want to or not, as a non-negotiable and doing the work. It's bottom line. Simple as that. I mean, a lot of people say, you know, hey, I'm doing the work. There's a lot of people that are productive that are not busy. Dude, sorry, English is wrong. There's a lot of people that are productive but aren't making money. I apologize for my misspoke. So in other words, we see it in real estate, you know what I mean? We see a lot of realtors that are busy, moving and doing all this stuff, but they're not making any money. They're not productive because they're not efficient with their time and they're not consistent when they're up, okay? It seems like when everybody's down, everybody wants to be consistent and turn it around. When everybody's up, people get distracted and don't stick back to those fundamentals. But yeah, that's where my confidence and my belief in myself comes from, is because every time I've said something in my life that I was going to do it, I did it. I didn't hold back. I didn't wait for the right time. I just went out there and did it. And I figured it out along the way. It's the old entrepreneur saying where all of us entrepreneurs, most of us just jump off the cliff and assemble our parachute on the way down. So that's one thing. The other side of it that gives me the ability to be so believing in myself and trusting in my plan is my back's been against the wall since I can remember. I've had my back against the wall since I've been a teenager. You know what I mean? I was the oldest of 4 boys. We lived in a very, middle to lower class home. My dad was a brick mason. You know what I mean? My mother, she worked in the call center for an insurance company. This was in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. I was the oldest grandson. So for me, once I got around 15, 16 years old, it was very hard for me to look at my mom and my dad and say, Daddy, can you give me this? Daddy, Mommy, can you get me that? My parents provided. We had a very, very humble, poor upbringing. I mean, it's just what it is, right? And my family, my mom and dad figure out a way. We played sports. We had school clothes. We had lunches. We had food. We had shelter. Like, we might not have had much money, but we figured out a way. My parents, they made it happen. And, kudos to them for locking in and taking care of 4 boys, 4 big ass boys. We was eating everything in the house. Let me tell you, like we were bottomless pits. You couldn't keep anything. Don't fucking put no snacks in the cabinets, because our big asses were going to go ahead and lock in, and they weren't going to last 2 days. Excuse me. So for me, it was like a time period where it was like my back was put up against the wall quickly, because I can't expect my parents to give to me as well. I'm trying to become an adult and be an adult at 15, 16 years old, 17 years old. And I got 3 younger brothers that need, so I took a back seat. I was working. And then that's kind of when you started getting into, some stuff that I shouldn't be getting into, some illegal activity. But my mindset was still the same. It was like, I got to get it. And I got to go out here and make it happen, because no one else is going to do it for me. And that kind of mindset alone, when you put your back against the wall, When you make it where you have to instead of you want to, it changes the entire way that you view every single day getting up and going to work, every single day getting up and building a career, every single day getting up and making something happen. And this isn't just success in business. I mean, this is success in a lot of things, relationships, your faith, your gym. I mean, all of it. When you put your back against the wall, in other words, young people, if you're still getting an allowance from your parents, or they're still paying some of your bills, and you're not reciprocating your output and your the way that you receive that, you're just taking it, that's not putting your back against the wall. I mean, listen, if you're still living at home, I mean, I put up a post not too long ago about the whole concept about, there was a statistic out, and I can't remember it, but basically, kids all the way up until they're 40 years old, or kids, men and women up until 35 years old are staying at home, living at home. Like, no, no, I'm sorry. That is the weakest shit I've ever heard. Now, there's always special circumstances, right? So before you get all pissed off and start, bucking, listen to the entire point, okay? Don't just hear the clip. There's always special circumstances. But if you're choosing to live at home, right? Let's just say because rent is so high that you can't afford a place, okay? You're taking away the ability to figure shit out on your own and build grit and resilience, okay? Well, how could I afford, $2,000 a month, Branden? I'm only making $30,000 a year. Get fucking roommates, dog. I did. Get roommates. You know what roommates taught me? I need to make more money because I don't want no fucking roommates. I never had them again. Get roommates. Get a plan. Get together. Don't live off your girl. Don't live off your husband or your boyfriend. Excuse me, not your husband, your boyfriend. Go out here and make something happen. But if you want to sit home at, and especially like in your 30s, dude, are you fucking kidding me? 30, 35 years old, you're still at home? Dude, give me a break. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have time periods maybe where you're in between places. You need to go back and get your shit together, for 6 months to a year. But like, come on, dog. Really? You living at home at 30 years old? I mean, even 25 years old, man. I just struggle with that concept, and I know that the economy's this and I know all that. But if you put your back against the wall and want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. If you look at how many of these 30-year-old people, especially men, I really got a problem with men. You look at these 35-year-old men that are still staying at home, I can guarantee a few things. I can guarantee their screen times are high. I can guarantee that they play video games. I can guarantee they work 1 or 2 jobs at best, not full-time at either one. I can guarantee that they go out, that they waste their time. I can guarantee that they live in the gym. Look, I love the gym just like anybody else, right? But you can't live in the gym if you're fucking broke. Them muscles are great to look at, but they still got to pay something got to pay the bills, dog. So like when you're sitting here finding yourself in this moment where, you're still at home, if you're not maximizing the time that you're at home, buddy, it's weak. Your back's not against the wall. And putting your back against the wall will always push you to figure things out better than having some sort of fail-safe. Prime example, when I came home from jail 11 years ago, okay? And that was the opportunity I told myself that I'm going to change my life. I said it while I was in jail. Again, I didn't go to a big prison sentence. I had 8 months in the county, okay? That's not shit compared to what I've done and all the things that I've been through. But on the other side, that was just enough time for me to give away my G card and say, I don't want no more of this shit. I'm too old for this. My point is that when I came home, my connects were still there. My clientele was still there. My team was still there. Like, this was a plug and play that all I had to do was come in and just take a step back, and they probably wouldn't have caught me, to be honest with you. Not on nothing like that, right? Because I understood what I needed to do and had that break from the storm. I came home to around $9,000 a month in overhead expenses. I had no job, $15,000 in debt. which, you know, now that ain't shit to me, to be honest with you, when you look at the average in the country. 3 daughters that lived with me, and I have no money. I was out of money. And I sat here. First place I went was right downtown and got me food stamps and assistance, health insurance. First thing. I'm a believer in these programs when you need them. And I'm also a believer in these programs that when it should be a mission to get off of them, that you don't stay on government assistance, that being on welfare, being on government system is a little bit embarrassing. That's my take on it. It's not humiliating because I needed to do it. My family needed to do it. You need what you need. Like, we all need help. That's why we pay taxes. But it's humiliating when you stay on it and you depend on it and you don't get off of it. And you can. That's the humiliating part, right? And went down there. Then I just started selling shit. I started selling my shoes. I started selling like coins and fucking all this shit that I had, jewelry. All this shit that gained no value for me. I had like over 100 pair. Like I had like 114 or 120 some pair of Jordans, retro Jordans that were never even open, just sitting in my closet, right? No bullshit. Like I just bought them because I did, because they were cool. The drop would come out, we go buy them and whatever. I didn't even wear, I only wore the certain brands, the 1s and like the 5s. But long story short, I knew that if I'd have made that phone call or put that play together, I knew that I would not, that I wouldn't be able to just do it one time and be done, right? I knew that it would be a ongoing thing where I would be back in, maybe I thought it was cool to flip a couple packs, and the next thing you know, I'd have been riding around with a chopper again, just, wilding out, right? And for those that don't understand that lingo, you know what I mean? In other words, I'll be back right in the drug game again, full throttle, no fucks given. I knew that if I sat here and I made a play, that every time that I got into a financial jam or a brick wall, that I would lean back on that to get me out of that, okay? That's no different than me living at home with moms at 35 years old. It's the same thing. It's because, here's why, because I was good and comfortable with that. And that's where I was sitting at, knowing that I could do that anytime, cheating the system. So I refused to. Dude, I wouldn't even smoke weed. I still don't smoke weed. I wouldn't even smoke weed. And my birthday's 4/20. Go figure. I wouldn't even smoke weed because, one, I just got, really weirded out about cancer. And I like smoke blunts and all that. 2, I knew what was going to happen. I knew that if I smoked a little bit of bud, that somebody was going to want some. And I was going to make the exception because I'm going to the spot anyway. And I'd have, made a couple bucks off it, got my shit for free or whatever. And next thing you know, that just would have grown. And again, I'd have been flipping packs again. And that's not where I wanted to go. So I knew that I needed to keep my back against the wall and figure it out. And I did. I figured it all out. I got out of debt. I minimized my house expenses. I took care of my girls. I did everything I was supposed to do. But my back was against the wall. Now, that's the context. Moving forward, the real secret to my success, and will always be the secret to most, is consistency. And we hear that word. I hate even saying it. I wish there was another word that I could use so people didn't just block out the word consistency, because that's what everybody says. Have you ever noticed, like, everybody recycles the same shit? Everybody says the same thing all the time, and there's no weight to it. They just throw it out there. You know what I mean? My favorite one is got to have balance. You got to have balance. You can go in any fucking statement at the end of that statement and literally say, well, you just got to have balance. You know what I mean? I could be talking to a crackhead that is like fucking on a 5-day binge, who hasn't slept in fucking 5 days. You know what I mean? That is tweaking out of his mind. And he could be like, man, I got to get off crack, man. You do, but you got to find balance. You can stick that phrase in anything you want to say just to fucking sound like you know what you're talking about. And everybody be like, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. So you hear these buzzwords like consistency, but that is the truth, man. And the power of consistency is being consistent after all of the new car smell wears off, after it gets dull, when you face adversity, when shit don't go your way, when you're not making the money, you're not getting the success, you're not doing the things that you want, that's when consistency really, really, really matters. It's so easy for people to sit here and give up on something because it didn't work out the way they wanted to, and then say that, prime example, real estate. People are like bashing real estate right now. Our agents at the Maryland and Delaware group are absolutely crushing it. We got so much business we're staffing, 10 people every month that we're bringing in new to sit here on top of the people that transfer from other brokerages just to keep up with the work. Like it's a insane amount of business that we need to get to, and we're working to get to, and that we just can't keep up. And people want to tell me like, oh, well, the housing market is not good. Real estate is not. No, it's different. It's a different market. If these businesses didn't work that you've given up on, right, that you've quit because you weren't successful at it, they wouldn't be in fucking business, dude. Like, as simple as that. If car sales was not a successful business, there wouldn't be any. People wouldn't do it. I mean, it mind boggles me and blows my mind to think that like these excuses that everybody makes. But what happens is it's mostly about their consistency. They get in, they're doing all the work, they're firing off all cylinders, they're following the blueprint, and then all of a sudden they find some sort of lane of the success, some sort of lane of prosperity, or it's better than what they've ever done. And then now they want to change the way things are done. They want to change the way that they go after the money when they were taught how to go after the money that got them to understand that they're making money. But now I want to throw my own spin on it. And I'm not saying things couldn't be added or tweaked. I'm saying you still got to follow those basic principles. Fundamentals and basics win championships. It wins championships. We just saw that with the New York Knicks. No one had the Knicks winning. And they did it. They pulled off one of the greatest games, greatest series ever, right? Against like arguably like the next, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant with Wemby, right? And I'm not a big basketball guy. So, I mean, I play it and I like it, but I'm not really into it. You know what I'm saying? Especially because how fucking political it's become and how much prima donna sports athletes are, to be honest. But anyway, I mean, I'm hearing the what's happening. I'm paying attention to the highlights. I'm not unaware, bro. Fundamentals and basics won those games, won that championship. Gonna win all. Fundamental principles and basics keep your marriage together. Think about that. Think about how it was in the beginning, how it was when you got engaged, how it was when you were newlyweds, or even if you didn't get married, just when you were in love, when you said, let's be boyfriend and girlfriend, or girlfriend and girlfriend, or boyfriend and boyfriend, whatever it is, or furry and furry, who the fuck knows? Once you got to a space where you guys had to get past the honeymoon phase, so to speak, and then you were locked in with a real relationship and it got dull, think about that. Think about all those basics and fundamental things that you did to impress, to make the other person feel acknowledged and seen, to go out of your way to do things, to court this other person. Think about all those things that you don't do anymore, or you stop doing. You got away from the basics and the fundamentals. You got away from consistency. Doesn't mean like home runs and grand slams aren't cool. Doesn't mean like that, fun stuff like romantic getaways and anniversaries and vacations, or, go back to work. Like when you hit a super profitable month or week, or when you close a big deal, you know what I mean? Or, when you get awarded some sort of plaque of recognition, it doesn't mean that's not cool, but that stuff is nowhere near as important as the base hits and doubles. I know I'm spitting sports analogies, but as the showing up every single day and doing the work. There's so many things that you learn in the show up every day and do the work part that can't be taught. Like you can't teach the ins and outs of certain things about your business from afar. We see this with, there's a huge statistic out right now, and I can't quote it, but right now with people that work remote versus the people working in the office. I think there's a bit of a disgruntlement about people that work remote are getting passed up on promotions versus the people work in the office. I mean, bro, like, that's a no-brainer. As a business owner, I want to see you leading. If you're working remote and you work for me and you're doing the work and you're doing everything you need to do, I'm happy with that. I'm satisfied. But that's probably about where it's going to end. I'm not saying you won't be invited to the company parties. I'm not saying you're not a part of the team. I'm not saying you won't, but if I don't physically see you at the job, at the office, okay, and I see someone else who's equally qualified, if not a little bit more, a little bit less, but they're there, they're willing, they're able, and I can talk to them at the water cooler. We can have those in between conversations, in between meetings and so forth. They're going to get the job. And that's the same concept that I'm talking about, that you need to be in the trenches of your business so you can learn the little nuances that you wouldn't learn in a meeting, you wouldn't learn in a big mistake, you would learn in the nuances, that you would learn in the water cooler type conversations and things like that. And if you're not tracking with me, like when I was doing the gym, right? When I was running the gym, one of my best friend, my mentor, right? He was like, dude, you need to know your numbers. You need to go out here and maybe take a couple economic classes, take a couple accounting classes, just learn numbers. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know what I mean? I don't got time. And I made these excuses. And I thought that as a simple business owner, you look at what your bank account says, the money coming in, the money going out. Real simple. It's not a whole lot to the gym business. So I thought. And it wasn't until I really took a step back and dove into my business where I started really seeing that the numbers are way more deeper than that, right? The numbers aren't, that's what everybody does. How do I grow that 12, 13, 14% every year, every quarter? How do I grow to a space where, we're adding to our bottom line without the obvious, without bringing in more people and keeping more people, right? Like in the gym business, it's about casting a wide net and bringing in as many people as you can and retaining them, right? Well, that's great in theory, but it never works out like that. It never works out like that. You never are able to just market yourself and put a deal out and get more people to come in and hold on to them. People will leave your gym for a fucking water fountain. I mean, no bullshit. You know what I mean? I seen somebody at another gym the other day. I did everything I possibly could to go out of my way for this member and his family, and they still just picked the other gym. And it's okay. That's all. I mean, stings. It always stings, especially in combat sports because you get so close to these people, but it's okay. We're not the place for everybody, and that's fine. Something happened that they didn't like and they didn't agree with, and they felt like this was not the right place for them anymore. So that never works out. So what do you got to do? You got to cast a deeper net. Well, how do you cast a deeper net? Well, let's start adding, maybe 10, 15% on each member. How can we get 10% or more or 15% more revenue from each member, right? Well, Branden, now you're going around with your hand out. No. We're going to add value. We're going to provide a service. We're going to fix problems. That's our mission as entrepreneurs. We fix problems. So okay, cool. Well, we can sell energy drinks. This energy drink has a better profit margin. Seems like this is going a little bit faster than this one. This one has a better rate. Boom. What else? We can up apparel sales. We can start doing more apparel. Blah, blah, blah. So you have these ways that you can look at casting a deeper net with the group of people that you already have, right? But those things were not really privy to my understanding and my knowledge when I'm in the thick of things and just doing what I do. So anyway, you don't find that stuff out without showing up. Now, let's back up even farther. All right, I've been at this gym here 8 years, okay? I've been in the business for over 15 years. But here, once we've been at Pure Fitness, I really would say that this is where we really stepped up and become, the Pure Fitness quality type of combat sports facility, right? Like before, I always say the analogy, I think we were like the trailer park, sitting next to the gated community, right? That, we kind of were like an eyesore. Now, we've got a nice little spot up in the gated community right now, right? We doing our thing inside Pure Fitness. But anyway, for 8 years, that was that kind of mindset, right? So I'd spent 8 years doing the work. Well, guys, in the first 4 or 5 years, I wasn't even fucking aware that I needed to know my numbers. Do you see where I'm going with this? It took me showing up every single day trying to figure out why 1 + 1 didn't equal 2, trying to figure out what we needed to do to pay the bills, trying to work on my own personal spending habits and my own personal saving habits and investing habits. And I had to realize all of these things that, again, if I was just kind of pussyfooting around, I would have never figured this shit out. So not only does the consistency bring you things that you didn't know and weren't aware of, the consistency also compounds because there's phases and stages of business. They say you really don't even become an expert in business until you hit the 10-year mark. Mastery level is 20. So what are we doing for fucking 5 and 10 years at a time? You see what I'm saying? You can't sit here and just come and go as you please and not put your time in to whatever it is you're doing. This goes for business, relationships, faith. We tend to fall off from faith when we stop reading our Bible and we stop praying every day and we stop going to church, right? Or wherever you go to for your place of worship. We tend to start falling off all of a sudden and start having these thoughts when we start slipping off the path. Look at addiction. Addiction's a prime example, right? You got somebody battling addiction. We had a guy, that was clean for over a year, doing really well, and kind of slipped up again. All right. Well, what was that person doing that kind of led him down? I can guarantee you it wasn't one night where that person said, fuck it, I'm done. No. It was a series of little teeny things, little teeny inconsistencies that trumped his consistencies of what he was doing to stay clean that got him slipping off the rails again. And it happens. It happens in everything that we do. And I don't think it's talked about enough. I don't think people really push home the point of how important it is to do the work that you don't feel like doing when you don't feel like doing it. Man, it's insane. It's insane the return on that investment. And one other thing is if you treat your consistency like a math equation, right? In other words, if I have date night with my wife, right, every week, right, and I don't, so I'm working to get to this, and this is something that dawned on me. If I have date night with my wife every week, right, and we are together for 10 years, okay, and there's 52 weeks in the year, and we make a non-negotiable that we're going to have date night every week, no matter what, for the health and strengthening of our relationship. Even if sometimes date night we're sitting at the tables looking at our phones, which I don't recommend, but sometimes it happens. We're all been there. You're looking at 5,200 date nights over the course of 10 years that you share with your wife. Date nights, or your husband. Date nights where it was just you two, only you two, talking about only what you two wanted to or didn't want to talk about at that time of date night. Even if you're arguing during date night, you still go. Even if you're not feeling well, you still find a day that you can go. You find some kind of hack that you can do. If it's a fucking walk around the block a couple times, whatever that looks like. And what happens is that consistency and the hours spent, that's over 5,000 hours if your date night's just an hour, guys, that you're spending with your person. That compounds over time. That compounds over time. That's a foundational bond that you and your partner have that have now invested into each other and got into the habit of each other's company on this one day a week, one night a week that you guys can't take back. Everything that we do that we want success from requires consistency, building daily habits. And you'll say, well, okay, cool. How do I start? Because every time I start this thing, I fall off. Every time I begin to get into, a groove, something knocks me off course, and I fall off the course, fall off again, and I'm starting all over. Okay, cool. I can help you with that. One, the more organized you are with your time and your calendar, especially your calendar and your fucking phone, that 90% of people don't utilize. I'm throwing a number out there, but I know 90% of people I walk into don't utilize their calendar. They utilize their camera. Your calendar alone will give you your schedule. We are so busy as a society, even fucking people living with their mom. We are so busy as a society. We are buzzing and moving. There's no still time. There's no relaxed time. No one's bored anymore, guys. The only motherfuckers that are bored nowadays are inmates. That's the only motherfuckers that are bored. No one's bored because everybody can mindlessly just pick up their phone and just start going away to a different land and be somewhere, or see something they want to see. You have to start utilizing your phone and your calendar in your phone to start setting up your schedule. And when you set your schedule up, it's non-negotiables. Your first thing I would do is I would do all of my yearly things, my birthdays, my doctor's appointments, my vacations, all of that. And then I would sit here and this is what I do. And then I would put in my monthly appointments and then my weekly appointments. And then, dude, I know I teach jujitsu at 12 o'clock on Tuesdays. I don't need to be reminded that I teach jujitsu at 12 o'clock on Tuesdays. But on my calendar, in my phone, it is from 12 to 2, I teach jujitsu on Tuesdays at 12 o'clock. That's just what it is. And I used to fear this so much because I felt like I was like becoming robotic. And I felt like I was like closing in on and being controlled and being like suffocated. And I found out that the freedom is in the structure. The freedom is not just winging it. The freedom is in the structure. So I live and die by my calendar. And what that does is that helps me get shit done and stay on top of things. Doesn't mean things don't slip through the cracks. No, but it certainly is a game changer. And then the other side of it is when you time block, when you make these appointments, like for instance, for realtors, right? We tell them to time block their calls. For 2 hours, you need to time block your calls. You don't answer emails. You don't answer other phone calls. You don't let people come into your office and interrupt you. You don't get on social media. You're sitting in here locked in, making your calls, right? Being consistent. That sits there and that compounds over time, just like we talked about. But you got to get in the trenches, and no matter what, you got to do it. And most realtors, in their database, there's money. They just forget about that. They just get caught up with they get caught up with their clients. They get super distracted and overwhelmed with deals and shit that goes wrong and all the other shit. And they go away from the basics and the fundamentals. If you just say no to certain things and you keep your non-negotiables that are in your calendar as what you're doing when you're doing that at that time, like a professional would, then you will sit here and you will build on that and you will create a habit that won't let you fail. It won't let you fail. You can't go to your lawyer, if God forbid you get in trouble. You can't say, hey, lawyer, I just got a DUI last night. I need to talk to you tomorrow. What's that? He's going to be like, fuck off, Bill. Motherfucker, I'm busy. I'll talk to you Tuesday at 2 o'clock. He treats his time like a professional. He makes you respect his time like a professional. He's time blocking that appointment for you. And when you sitting with that lawyer, you have his undivided attention. He is solely focused on you. Same with any other professional. Why aren't you acting like that? So that's the first and only step that you really need to do. That's it. It's as simple as that. Have non-negotiables. I'm going to show up and do the work anyway. And I'm organized with my time. And I treat my time like a professional. And I build. And I don't give up. This is the other side of it. You guys are so ready. No, excuse me, not you guys, because people who listen to this podcast actually get busy. Most people, when faced with pain and adversity, tap out and give up. Everything worth having comes with pain, with blood, sweat, and tears. Everything. Everything worth having, comes from that. It's just up to you how much pain you're willing to endure. Now, let's not mix it up. I'm not talking about an abusive relationship, or I'm not talking about a poor working conditioning environment. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about doing the things you don't want to do over and over and over and over again. There's a story, I can't remember who it is. It's in the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. One of the best books entrepreneurs can read in the beginning. And it talks about getting 3 feet away from gold. This guy, I don't want to butcher I'm going to butcher the story, but I'm going to give it real quick and brief. Basically, back in the gold rush, back in the day, settlers would head out west and they would try to, get gold. And usually it's because somebody had struck gold or close to where they're at. And, if they got a little bit, they believe there's a lot of it. So this guy out east, raised a lot of money from a lot of people, got all the equipment, got all the stuff needed, headed out west with this promise that he was going to strike it big. And he digs, and he digs, and he digs, and he digs where they told him to dig, where the gold was at, and he digs, and he digs, and he digs, and he digs, and he digs. And then finally, after 6 months, a year, I believe, he starts exasperating his funds and resources. And, you know what I mean? with the shame and the guilt and the fear of failure, he just decided that he was going to go ahead and sell what he had to one of the guys that were locals there, right? He was going to sell what he had to kind of recoup something, go back as a failure, pay off the debts he could, and live in shame and try to figure things out, right? And come to find out, the person that he sold his stuff to struck gold 3 feet from where he quit. 3 feet, right? And I believe I'm not quite sure if I remember. I believe that was the story of where Charles Schwab got their wealth or started their wealth. I don't know if that's true. I think it is, but I can't remember. So if you want to fact check me, read the book. But anyway, my point is so many people fall short right before you're about to sit here and strike gold, and they quit and they give up because they think they can't tolerate any more pain. And I can tell you this from combat sports. I can tell you this from fighting. 2 things. One, when you think have had enough and you want to quit from exhaustion or from fatigue or from, getting your ass kicked, you're generally at 40%. You're generally at 40% when you want to give up and quit. You still have another 40 more percent, 60 more percent in you. But it feels so bad and it hurts so much that you think that you don't. The other side of it is, and this is from combat sports, you don't know what your opponent's feeling. And if you're in a battle, even if that motherfucker's whooping your ass, for 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds straight, and you're still not going anywhere, that can discourage someone alone and make them want to quit. Let alone if you're having a war and that person is just as to the point of fatigue and exhaustion and being tired as you might quit 3 seconds before your opponent quits, and you just gave them the win. So you can't quit. Can't. So, hope you guys got something from that. I winged the shit out of this episode just for the record. But I knew what I wanted to talk about. I knew where I wanted to go. And, I hope it made more sense when we hear it. But at the end of the day, we don't edit these. We go raw, and we give you what's on my heart. I give you what's on my heart when it's me. I give you what's on my heart when I have guests. And we talk about things that I want to talk about, and we push people to be the best versions of themselves. And I hope that you get something from this. I pray that you can pass this along and share this with somebody who would get value from this. You know what I mean? And again, if I earned your business, if I earned your respect, hit that like and subscribe button, especially on YouTube, and give me a review. You know what I mean? I work hard to provide value. Until next time, guys, what are you doing today to become a champion?